Do you ever wake up in the morning and feel like your thoughts are tangled? Like you're trying to move through fog just to get your day started? Maybe you sit at the edge of your bed for a few extra moments, hoping your mind will catch up with your body. If you've ever felt like that, mentally sluggish, forgetful, or just a bit off, please know, you're not alone. And more importantly, it's not your fault. These changes can sneak in quietly as we get older. But what if I told you that some of the most damaging things affecting your brain after 65 happen not over years, but in the very first hour of your day? Yes, really. The moment you open your eyes in the morning can shape how sharp, clear, and steady your brain feels for the rest of the day. And here's the good news: once you become aware of a few common mistakes, it becomes so much easier to avoid them, and start giving your brain exactly what it needs to thrive. Because no matter your age, your brain still responds to love, attention, and good habits. In today's video, we're going to talk about 4 surprisingly common morning habits that might be harming your brain more than you realize, and of course, I'll show you what you can do instead. These are simple changes, gentle ones. No big leaps, no strict routines. Just small shifts with a big impact. And if you love meaningful conversations about health, psychology, and living fully at every age, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm on my journey to 1,000 subscribers, and your support means the world. It helps me keep creating valuable content for this wonderful community. Now, let's start with the first habit. It's something that seems innocent. In fact, it might even feel comforting. But it's quietly working against your brain's natural rhythm every single day. And that habit is staying in bed too long after you wake up. You see, there's a difference between resting and delaying. When you open your eyes in the morning but then lie there for another 30, 40, even 60 minutes, something happens in your brain chemistry. Your body wakes up, but your mind doesn't quite get the message. The mental fog that follows isn't just grogginess, it's a disruption of your circadian rhythm, that internal clock that tells your brain when it's time to be alert, focused, or calm. Lying in bed for too long after waking up sends a confusing signal: should I stay in rest mode? Or get up and go? That indecision, especially if paired with scrolling through your phone, watching the news, or thinking about everything that's worrying you, can create the perfect storm of mental fatigue before your feet even touch the floor. And over time, it chips away at clarity, memory, even mood. Now, I'm not saying you have to jump up like a teenager on a Saturday. But just sitting up, placing your feet on the floor, stretching gently, taking a few deep breaths, these small actions tell your brain, I'm ready to engage. It's a signal of intention. A gentle reminder to your mind that yes, you're here, and today is worth stepping into. And that brings us to something deeply connected to this, a habit that often comes immediately after we get out of bed, but does just as much harm, if not more. I'm talking about skipping breakfast, or grabbing something sugary and quick without real nourishment. Let's talk about what actually happens when we miss breakfast, especially after the age of 65. Throughout the night, your brain is busy. It's not sleeping the way you are, it's organizing memories, cleaning up waste proteins, preparing you for the day ahead. By morning, your brain is starving. Not just for calories, but for key nutrients that support neurotransmitters, stabilize blood sugar, and keep your memory sharp. But when we skip breakfast, or worse, just have a cup of coffee and a piece of toast slathered in jam, our brain misses the critical nutrients it needs. You might feel okay for an hour or two, but then comes the crash: forgetfulness, mood dips, lack of focus, even dizziness. And day after day, this cycle can gradually wear down cognitive function. Not in a dramatic way, but subtly. A lost word here. A missed appointment there. It adds up. What your brain needs is fuel, real, nourishing fuel. Something that gives it steady energy without the spike and crash effect. You don't need a buffet. Sometimes, just a slice of whole grain bread with almond butter, or a small bowl of oats with blueberries and chia seeds, or even a couple of boiled eggs with avocado. These aren't just foods. They're brain messages that say, I care about you. When you start your day with intention, your mind listens. It shows up for you. And I know, for many people, breakfast just doesn't feel natural anymore. You might not have an appetite in the morning, or maybe you're used to that quiet cup of coffee being the only thing in your hand. But even something small, a warm herbal tea with a banana, a handful of walnuts, a little Greek yogurt, can help set your brain up for a better day. The key is consistency. Your brain loves rhythm. It thrives on knowing what to expect. Now that we've explored those two habits, lingering too long in bed and skipping nourishing breakfast, there's another one we need to talk about. It's sneaky, because it hides under the label of staying informed. But what it really does, especially first thing in the morning, is inject stress into your system before you've had a chance to breathe. I'm talking about consuming negative media, especially the kind that floods your mind with worry, fear, or anger, right after waking up. There's something particularly vulnerable about our mornings. Our minds are in a more suggestible state, sort of halfway between dreamland and full alertness. And whatever we feed it in that window sets the tone. If the first thing you see or hear is a shouting news anchor, a tragic headline, or even an email filled with problems to solve, your brain doesn't ease into the day. It jolts. It stiffens. And if this happens daily, it trains your mind to expect stress before you even have a moment of peace. This constant morning exposure to negative input can actually shrink parts of the brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation over time. It's like throwing cold water on the warmth your mind needs to function well. So here's a gentle alternative. When you wake up, before reaching for your phone or turning on the TV, just take a few quiet moments. Open a window. Step outside if you can. Listen to the birds or let your face feel the morning light. Maybe read a few lines from a book that inspires you. Or keep a little notebook nearby where you can jot down one thing you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be big, just honest. This kind of mental space, right at the start, gives your brain a cushion. A chance to land softly into the day, rather than being thrown into the chaos of the world. It's protective. It's healing. And it reminds you that you are in control of what enters your mind. And speaking of control, there's one more habit that might seem harmless, but can quietly damage your cognitive clarity over time. And speaking of control, there's one more habit that might seem harmless, but can quietly damage your cognitive clarity over time. It's something many people do automatically, almost without thinking, especially when the house is quiet and the day hasn't quite picked up speed. I'm talking about going through your entire morning in complete silence and isolation. Now, don't get me wrong, quiet time can be a beautiful thing. Reflection, stillness, prayer, even meditation, all of those are powerful practices for mental peace. But silence that stretches into hours of complete disengagement from the world? That's a different kind of quiet. That kind of silence can create a kind of mental emptiness that, over time, weakens the brain's social and emotional circuits. You see, the brain is a social organ. It doesn't just want interaction, it needs it to stay sharp. Conversations, even small ones, activate parts of the brain tied to memory, attention, emotion, and empathy. And after the age of 65, when many people find themselves retired, living alone, or simply not interacting with others as much, this quiet becomes more than just peaceful, it can become isolating. Imagine waking up, not speaking a word for the first 4 or 5 hours of your day. You make coffee, maybe flip through a magazine, maybe feed the cat, but there's no exchange of energy, no moment of connection. Your brain, day after day, begins to feel like it's floating in space. And the result? Memory slows. Mood dips. Focus fades. You start feeling more disconnected, not just from others, but from yourself. So what can we do? What if you do live alone, or your mornings are naturally quiet? The answer isn't to force constant chatter. It's about inviting interaction, however small. Call a friend while you're making breakfast. Say good morning to your neighbor when you grab the paper. Even talking to your plants while you water them or singing softly to your dog might sound silly, but to your brain, those moments are golden. They're reminders that you're here, you're alive, and you're part of something larger than yourself. Another simple idea? Audio stimulation. Listen to a podcast that makes you smile, or a favorite radio show with a warm human voice. Put on music that brings back memories of dancing in your kitchen or walking through the park on a sunny day. The sounds you surround yourself with have power. They shape your mood, your mindset, and your sense of connection. You see, what we do in the first few hours of our day is like setting the tone for an orchestra. If it begins in dissonance or dullness, it's hard to shift it later. But if it starts with gentle rhythms, with connection, with clarity, it carries you. It holds you up, even when things get hard. And the truth is, mornings don't need to be perfect. They just need to be mindful. Because your brain isn't asking for grand gestures. It's asking for love in small doses. A warm voice. A nourishing bite. A bit of movement. A breath of fresh air. And that leads us into something we often forget in the busyness of routine, the one thing your brain absolutely craves in the morning, yet so many of us neglect. And that is hydration. Plain and simple. Water. Now, you might be wondering, how could something as simple as a glass of water have anything to do with memory or focus? But here's the truth, after 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body, and more importantly, your brain, is dehydrated. You haven't had anything to drink all night. And your brain, which is made up of nearly 75% water, depends on that hydration to function well. Even mild dehydration can cause your brain to slow down. You might feel confused. You might find it harder to recall names or organize your thoughts. Your mood might swing a little more easily. And over time, that tiny bit of dryness in your system can wear down your mental sharpness. But here's the part many people don't realize. By the time you feel thirsty, your brain has already been running low for a while. So waiting until later in the day, or just sipping coffee and calling it hydration, doesn't help much. In fact, caffeinated drinks can make dehydration worse. So what should you do? Simple. Keep a glass of water by your bed. When you wake up, before you do anything else, take a few slow sips. Let your body wake up from the inside out. Add a slice of lemon if you like, or a dash of sea salt for minerals. But really, just pure water is enough. Your brain will thank you within minutes. And if you want to take it one step further, try stepping outside for a moment as you drink. Let the morning light touch your face, let your lungs fill with fresh air. This combination, hydration and light, is like flipping on a light switch in your mind. It clears the fog. It reboots your rhythm. It tells every cell in your brain, we're alive. Let's go. And that's something worth remembering. Because when we talk about protecting the brain after 65, we often focus on big things, like medical treatments or memory games. But more often, it's the small, daily habits that make the biggest difference. We don't have to overhaul our lives. We just have to pay attention. And so, as you think about your mornings, the first hour of your day, ask yourself, am I helping my brain, or am I accidentally making things harder? Am I staying in bed too long, skipping nourishment, flooding myself with stress, or starting in silence? Or am I inviting light, movement, connection, and hydration into my morning? Because these moments matter. They shape not just your day, but the days ahead. Because these moments matter. They shape not just your day, but the days ahead. And here's the most important part to hold on to, the brain doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency, kindness, and care. And often, it starts with noticing what we've been doing automatically for years, and deciding, gently, to do things a little differently. Now, maybe as you're listening, something has already clicked. Maybe you've thought, yes, I do linger in bed a little too long, or, that's me, I always forget to drink water in the morning. If so, please don't judge yourself. There's no shame here, only awareness. And awareness is the first step to healing. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are simply waking up to the idea that every morning is a chance to protect and nourish your most precious resource, your mind. And I want to share something that might surprise you. One of the most underestimated yet damaging things we do to our brain in the morning, something that doesn't involve food or sleep or even silence, is starting the day in a rush. Hurrying may seem like something we outgrow as we get older. But the truth is, many people over 65 still move through their mornings with a sense of urgency, whether it's trying to keep up with a long to-do list, helping with grandkids, or simply feeling like we're already behind the moment we open our eyes. And this kind of mental rushing, rushing to remember, rushing to respond, rushing to be productive, is exhausting for the brain. When you begin your day in a flurry of tasks, especially before giving your brain time to warm up, you place it under stress. Not the kind of stress that makes your heart race, necessarily, but a low-level tension that builds over time. Your thoughts get jumbled. You lose your keys. You forget what you were doing mid-task. You become irritable. And worse, this constant pressure can actually shrink parts of the brain involved in memory and decision-making. You deserve better than that. And here's the beautiful shift that's possible: you can choose a slower morning. One that respects your pace, honors your rhythm, and invites peace instead of pressure. Even if your schedule is full, you can begin your day in a way that tells your mind, you're safe. There's no rush. We're okay. You might start by simply giving yourself 5 extra minutes, not to sleep, but to stretch. To put on your robe slowly. To sip your tea without the TV on. You could take that time to look out the window, say a quiet prayer, or just breathe deeply with your hand on your heart. These are not luxuries. These are essential moments of brain care. Because when your mind feels safe and unrushed, it begins to work with you instead of against you. You think more clearly. You feel more grounded. You remember better. You respond with more patience and presence. And over time, those small changes add up to something extraordinary: clarity, calm, even joy. It might seem like such a simple thing, choosing a slower start. But in that slowness, the brain finds space to settle. And that space is what allows insight, memory, and creativity to come alive again. You might even begin to notice a kind of brightness returning, not in your surroundings, but inside you. Now, if you've been doing any of these habits for years, it's completely understandable. They're not bad habits on purpose. They're just patterns. And once we see them clearly, we can choose differently, not perfectly, but intentionally. And that's really the heart of it. Because everything you do in the morning is a message to your brain. It's a message that says, you matter. You're safe. You're supported. And when your brain hears that message often enough, it starts to relax. It starts to sharpen. It starts to trust. So, what might a morning look like that truly honors your brain? It might begin with a stretch and a deep breath before even standing up. It might include a tall glass of water, followed by a small, nourishing breakfast. Maybe a short walk in the sunlight, or a call to a friend. Maybe just sitting quietly with your journal, noticing your thoughts without judgment. And maybe, just maybe, doing all of that without checking the news, without rushing to solve a problem, without telling yourself you're already behind. You are not behind. You are right where you need to be. And now that you know which habits might be quietly harming your brain after 65, staying in bed too long, skipping a real breakfast, consuming stressful media, staying in silence too long, rushing through the morning, you also know what to do differently. These aren't medical prescriptions. They're invitations. Gentle doorways back to clarity, peace, and connection. And here's something that may surprise you. Your brain isn't in decline just because of age. In fact, science tells us that the brain can grow and adapt at any age, yes, even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. That process is called neuroplasticity, and it's real. But neuroplasticity doesn't happen in chaos or stress. It happens in calm. In presence. In those small, repeated moments when you choose love over pressure. That's what these morning shifts are really about. They're not just about avoiding damage. They're about opening the door for healing. They're about telling your brain, you still have work to do. You still have joy to feel. You still have so much to give. And you do. So tomorrow morning, before your feet even touch the ground, remember this: you are not just waking up to a new day. You are waking up to a new possibility. A chance to take care of your mind. A chance to rewrite the rhythm of your life, not all at once, but little by little. And those little moments? They are more powerful than you can imagine. If any part of this message touched you today, I'd love to hear from you. What morning habits have you found help you feel more alive and mentally clear? Or what's one small thing you might try tomorrow? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one, and your story might inspire someone else in this beautiful community. And if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to click like, share it with someone you care about, and hit that subscribe button. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps me continue sharing insights that empower and uplift, all from the heart. Remember, small steps matter. And your best days can still be ahead of you. Here's to mornings that bring peace, purpose, and clarity. Here's to living your best life, at any age.